What's happening in America? How do we make sense of the kind of political extremism we're seeing across our elections, as we discussed earlier in this show in places like Pennsylvania, to the white supremacist extremism we're seeing in our streets, as we saw in the tragic massacre in Buffalo, to the kind of anti-liberalism we're seeing championed online by tech billionaires and their fan base? We've discussed all of these topics on this show individually many times before, but sometimes it's easy to miss the forest for the trees when you're standing in the middle of it. That's not the case for author and political analyst Jared Yates Sexton. In a viral Twitter thread from last month, he explains what's going on and how most people don't have a clue. He describes it as a, quote, growing international authoritarian movement, historically concentrated capital, tech messianism coupled with white supremacy, and unparalleled surveillance and control. A mouthful, sure, but it's all out in the open. Quoting him further, conferences, articles, podcasts, books, it's all right there. And people just keep ignoring it. The media is still treating all of this as some kind of brief aberration, he writes, or it's just drilling further some centrist compromise that doesn't even exist. Meanwhile, the authoritarian project just rolls on. Sexton then addresses something that often annoys the hell out of me, the idea that those of us warning about this historical moment that we're in, this existential threat to our democracy, this rising fascism, that we're being alarmist or hysterical. He writes, talking about what the far illiberal right is up to, partnering with tech and anti-democratic-minded billionaires is treated like hysterical fear-mongering. They're winning, and they're doing it right out in the open while people bury their heads. None of this is hidden. The right is just openly espousing post-liberal authoritarian plans. Just look, it's all right there. This isn't about Trump, and it's not a passing phase. It's a movement, a dangerous movement. That is a lot to take in. But it's important that we do it, and joining me now to help make sense of all of this is the author of those tweets and co-host of the Muckrake podcast, Jared Yates Sexton. Jared is the author of several books too, including one that's set to come out next year called The Midnight Kingdom, a history of power, paranoia, and the coming crisis. Jared, thanks so much for coming on the show. What were you thinking when you began writing that Twitter thread? Did you read something or see something that set you off, felt like, I need to say this stuff, people are not paying attention?
Well, first of all, it's always good to meet a fellow hysteric in these hysterical times. It's really frustrating. I'm with you. Watching these things be talked about and dealt with in very explicit terms on the right wing, while people continue to dismiss it, pretend as somehow or another that this was just an aberration with Donald Trump and that his losing the presidential election put everything to rights. Meanwhile, this project rolls on. And if you pay any attention whatsoever to the people involved, including senatorial candidates like J.D. Vance, and we see these articles and deep dives that basically tell you what these people believe in no uncertain terms. It's not hidden at all. And so when I started documenting this, particularly in this thread and in my writing, it comes from a deep, deep frustration that unfortunately people want to continue pretending as if this simply isn't happening.
Yes, and you mentioned J.D. Vance, you mentioned deep dives. This is not happening in smoke-filled rooms. James Pogue has this piece in Vanity Fair that I think you were alluding to, where he's talking about this illiberal authoritarian movement, the new right, as it's often called, led by billionaire Peter Thiel, he says, his associate Blake Masters, J.D. Vance, and a man named Curtis Yarvin. And he writes, Pogue writes in Vanity Fair, quote, "This new right is not a part of the conservative movement, as most people in America would understand it. It's better described as a tangled set of frameworks for critiquing the systems of power and propaganda that most people reading this probably think of as the way the world is." Pogue even quotes J.D. Vance as basically saying, you can ignore the courts if you want to. You described what he was saying as a coup. What we're discussing is a really visceral reaction to something, isn't it? It is reaction in many ways.
Yes, if you pay attention to the ideology behind all of this, what you find is that there is a growing international authoritarian movement that literally believes that it is playing a role in a final showdown between the ideologies of conservatism and liberalism. In the past few days, of course, I think a lot of people have gotten a crash course on what white replacement theory is. And if you pay attention to these ideas, the narrative that's being told is that there is a worldwide conspiracy that is trying to replace white people in power, and this is the reaction to that. They truly do believe that liberal democracy is a weakness, that it is a Trojan horse of sorts that allows international conspiracies to take over nations and destroy their cultures and their peoples. And what they are proposing is nothing short of authoritarianism, Caesarism, however you want to dress it up. It's the literal destruction of liberal democracy.
Do you, Jared, I hate using these words because they're simplistic, but they're important to try and convey to our viewers. Do you see yourself as an optimist or a pessimist when you cover this story? Because I go through different phases and mostly I'm pessimistic right now. But do you see a way that 2024 doesn't end in disaster?
Well, 2024 is a completely different sort of a story. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out. I think 2022 will tell us a lot. But I'll be honest, I see myself as a realist. And in all of this, I understand that what we're talking about is very disturbing and frightening when you really look it in the face. But I actually consider myself an optimist because what we have to do is understand exactly what it is that we're dealing with and who we're dealing with so that we can come up with some sort of a reaction or an alternative. But to simply pretend like this isn't happening, while it is very obviously taking place, is doing nothing but giving these people a lot of room to grow and gain power and influence, yes, which they already have.
Yeah, it's the growing part. I genuinely did not imagine that a year and a half after Trump's defeat, over a year after the insurrection, the quote-unquote new right would be more emboldened, not less. And they're doing all this out in the open, as you point out. Why do you think it is then that even though it's all out there, the books, the conferences, the speeches, the podcasts, as you put it, why are so many people, especially so many centrists, liberals, still missing what's going on? Why is the media in particular still missing the big picture? Is it denialism? Is it complacency? Is it cynicism? What is it?
I mean, the answer is yes, all the way around. It is a large ball of wax. I think on one hand, you have a lot of people who are really afraid to take a look at the system and say that something is wrong. There is a critique at the heart of this movement, which is true, which is that the system has stopped working for the welfare of regular people and that there is a disconnect in terms of power. In order to start addressing the problem at the heart of this, you have to realize that the system, as it is constructed, has not only been failing people, but it's been failing people since it was constructed. And a lot of people are simply uncomfortable really dealing with that critique. And unfortunately, that leads to them burying their heads in the sand or pretending, you know, that this was simply about Donald Trump and it would go away after 2020. But it is a larger problem that absolutely has to demand our attention and demand our energy.
Quick last question, 30 seconds left. Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer ring you up, Jared, and say, we recognize this is a problem, international authoritarian movement. What do we do? What should we be doing?
Stop giving press conferences where you talk about the country needs a strong Republican Party. One of the issues in this is that the Democratic Party refuses to call this what it is. They want to pretend, again, we've heard phrases that they're going to wake up, that the fever is simply going to stop. And meanwhile, you have a lot of people who understand that something weird and insidious is happening. So why aren't the leaders calling it what it is? And that disconnect is really causing a problem right now.
100%. I don't think I've nodded so much during a guest answer for a long time. Jared Yates Sexton, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.